Happy Thursday, guys. Happy Thursday, guys. Welcome to WagerTalk TV. I am back from a short vacation, but I tuned in on Tuesday to watch the guys on the Stoppage Time and chat with a few people in our live chat. Four games to discuss today. We are looking at the weekend fixtures. If you missed today's Europa League games that go Sevilla and Juventus and AS Roma and Bayer Leverkusen, those are up on the WagerTalk video feed. You can find them under video archives, and you'll find them on Tuesday's show as the guys discuss those games, so you can get some plays for today. But we're going to discuss four games on the weekend, three in the EPL, one in Germany's Bundesliga. And with me from WagerTalk.com, Nick Borman, Kevin Dolan, and Brian Power. Let's bring them in. Kev, I'll go to you. Good news, I heard. You've booked Vegas, the 17th to the 22nd for the Vegas, the WagerTalk meet and greet at Westgate. So I'm looking forward to hooking up with you, and hopefully the other guys can make it, and we can take you guys out for dinner. How are things?
Yeah, all good, Carmine. Obviously, really looking forward to that. All booked up. The hotel's booked. The flights are booked. So I'm going to hold you to this 18 pints of Guinness or whatever you were talking about before. But things are going well right now. We had a big 4% winner in the Champions League last night on Manchester City. You know, this team's numbers, should we all know it, frankly ridiculous. I remember running the data late last week. I think it was Friday or Saturday early. And it popped up 2.3 expected goals differential per game better than Madrid based on home road form. And I remember sitting there going, that can't be right. I'm going to run those numbers again in the Champions League. But of course, I mean, it was right. So it was like, I'm going to trust the numbers and bet City, and pretty good winner there. So yeah, things are going well right now. Splitting the MLS as well, and we got a 4% play up in Europa League for tonight as well.
All right, wish you luck on that. And yet, I was flying back yesterday, a 2:30 Eastern time flight. So I thought, perfect. I'm going to get into my seat, log into the airplane Wi-Fi, and I will be able to follow along, watch on the zone the Champions League game. And of course, to get on there, we take off, and they make an announcement that the Wi-Fi is not working. So I couldn't even follow my play that I gave out to clients. And then oddly enough, or sadly enough, I get home, unpack, and I watch the LAFC game, which I did give to my clients as well too. And that one didn't go as well. So transparency, 100% transparency. You win some, you lose some, but that's one I lost that I really wanted to win. So apologies on the LAFC game last night. They played better than the final score dictated. Nick, you're an MLS guy. There should have been more than one goal for LAFC, including that goal that was disallowed. But that was yesterday's news. Just tell me what's going on and give me any opinion.
I don't want to talk about the Champions League game. I thought Bayern could do something. I thought Madrid could do something. But City, maybe it's their year finally. I feel like Pep always overthinks himself, but so far it's been working out. So I'll stop fading City as we go into the to the Champions League final. But looking forward to the rest of this week. It's been an awesome month of May, 29-9, all soccer plays so far this month. So hopefully we continue that. I got one going today. Well, I'm sure we'll talk about that later. But things are good, and hopefully we'll continue that. And we got the PGA Championship just teed off about an hour ago. There was a frost day this morning, so we're underway there as well. Second major of the year.
And keep knocking out those winners, Nick. I love those golf winners. You had I think a 17 or 19 to 1 last weekend. So hopefully another one. Bryan, Kevin talks about this City team. They just look unbeatable, but And I think everyone's going to be on them. Everyone is going to be on them in the Champions League final. But there is something that just tells me I took unders under in the game on Tuesday with Inter Milan. They're playing some classic shutdown, old school Italian defending of the 1980s and early 90s. You just can't get through them for some reason, and they weren't like that earlier in the season. So they seem to be peaking at the right time. Any thoughts before we get into the 4 games, and how are things?
Things are good. Yeah. In terms of Inter, we've mentioned on the show, I think the last couple times, that no one's playing better in Italy right now than them. Now, no one's playing better in the world than Man City. So we'll see, what that means, when the Champions League final rolls around. Of course, it's a high price. I mean, my goodness, I talked about it on Tuesday. Man City, the numbers, Kevin touched on it, just otherworldly. I felt a little square giving that on Tuesday. I laughed about that, but easy 4-0 win there. As for today, it's big day, guys. 5% NBA play on the docket. I have released only 4 5% plays all season. All 4 of those plays have won. And if you act early, you can get not just that 5% NBA bet, but my 3 soccer plays for this afternoon. We've got the EPL match between Brighton and Newcastle. We've got Europa League. We've got Europa Conference League. Get all 3 of those plus the 5% NBA for just $19.50. Because remember, Carm, it is half price Thursdays at WagerTalk.com.
It is half price Thursday, so you can get some great deals right across the site. All right, guys, we are going to head into the 4 games, and the first one to kick off the card is going to be Bournemouth and Man United. This one goes on Saturday. The odds on this one, Bournemouth plus 495. The draw is plus 371. Man United minus 199 in this one. So basically $2 right now across the board at a lot of the books you can find on our WagerTalk live lines. Kevin and I will look at this. I'll make this mine a little shorter with regards to this game because I'm not going with either side. I'm going with the goal scoring prop, which will come with a little caution on it as well too. But you look at Bournemouth, 39 points. They are safe from relegation. A better second half of the season for this team that started very miserably. United a little different. They're on 66 points, holding on to that 4th spot. 3 games left, which is a game more than Liverpool, but only a point up. And they still have Chelsea and I believe Chelsea and Fulham, both games at Old Trafford to finish off. So Chelsea might be the fly in the ointment for them. So they're going to want to pick up 3 points in this one. The reverse fixture finished 3-0 for United at Old Trafford. Rashford getting the 3rd goal of that one. He was back in training on Saturday with the team. We still don't know until Friday's announcement from Ten Hag on whether he will feature or not. They've got 4 games left, 3 EPL, and then a cup game as well, too, a cup final game. So he may see action. Whether he starts or not remains to be seen. You'll find that out on Friday. But if he does start, this is a play that you can take, which is Rashford to score an anytime goal, minus 130. Most books will void any bet on an anytime goal scorer if the player does not start. So check the rules at your book for that. And some books will give you the option of clicking on the void if player does not start. If Rashford starts, that'll be the play for me. Rashford minus 130 in this one. I don't want to lay multiple goals with United in this one. I think they get the win. I just don't know whether they can cover a bigger spread on the road, still with 3 big fixtures for them left on this season. So I'll go with the anytime goal scorer, Marcus Rashford. 16 goals thus far for United, top goal scorer on the team, 23 across all competitions, including 7 in Europa and 1 in domestic cup plays. So, or 6 and 1. So 23 goals for him. We'll look for him to find the back of the net if he starts. Kev, give me your thoughts on this one.
It's funny because Bryan obviously just mentioned that, Manchester City in his and they were the square side of the play. That's who I felt about it too, running those numbers, and I seen 2.3 and I was thinking that can't be right and running them again. But the one difference for me handicapping more this year is definitely, I said this when the in-laws came round. I went off to the office and, I took the main stuff out and I started putting in stuff like non-penalty expected goal shot, quality shot zones and so on. And it's really got me back in teams. I had Elche against Atletico Madrid at the weekend. I had Sampdoria as well. It's got me back in teams that I really have to be watching games through my fingers. But, it continues to work out pretty much since last November. I believe the first time was actually the Newcastle-Chelsea game earlier in the season. And that's exactly what I have in this one as well. This Man United-Bournemouth game is actually the highest rated EPL game of the week for me. It's not a 5%, but I just mean that this game is graded the highest out of any game in the EPL over the weekend slate. And, I like Bournemouth here, catching plus 1.25 goals, which I already fired on at opener. That line has since crept down a little. It's at a straight one at most books, but you can still bump it up to plus 1.25 at around minus 140 right now. And, look, while I get, all the other stuff, all the other angles here, United need to win. They need to get a result in this one to kind of hold off Liverpool because they're in some of the best form in Europe right now. Bournemouth, obviously, in the opposite kind of, zone, opposite kind of camp. They have nothing to play for. But again, I'm just going to trust the numbers here again and take the home side, getting the big head start. United just haven't been good away from home this year. They've won just 2 of the last 9 league games overall, 9 league road games. They sit 5th from bottom in scoring offense over the calendar year away from home as well. They barely rank above Nottingham Forest in that category. So while I get it's a must win for United here, Bournemouth are on the beach, so to speak, as well. There's absolutely no way, as you mentioned at the start, I could back Manchester United, especially posting these kind of numbers to win this game by multiple goals. So, I'm quite happy to take a piece of Bournemouth in this one at home in a play that's already made my card for the weekend.
All right, Kevin Dolan, WagerTalk.com. And Kev, I get it. And the thing is, with Bournemouth now safe, obviously from relegation, a game in front of their home crowd where they get to probably play a little less with a little less intensity, a little less stressed, and maybe they play a bit of an open game and surprise United. So if they can find the back of the net, getting the plus 1.25 goals is probably a good thing because we may not see United get the 3 in this one. So that would at least get you a half win if they can find the back of the net in this one. Guys, we're going to switch gears. We're going to move to Germany for the Bundesliga. And the biggest game on the weekend for a lot of reasons, it is Bayern Munich and Red Bull Leipzig. The odds on this one, Munich 193 at home. The draw is plus 389. Leipzig plus 442. What's at stake here? You look at the standings right now in the Bundesliga with 2 games to play, and Munich holding on to, and they normally have the title locked up by now, by a scant 1-point lead over Dortmund right behind them. So this is the game in which they don't want to misstep. A draw could likely cost them the Bundesliga title here. They have 2 games left, this one here, and then they will go to Cologne for the last game of the year, and they're the team that gives all of us trouble on this show, including Pavlos. And you look at Dortmund, 2 games left for them. They're away to Augsburg and then home to Mainz. So you could probably expect them to get a couple wins there. So this is one in which Dortmund needs to win. But do they win? Bryan, as Kev just said, having to win doesn't always mean you're going to win. What are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, Bayern, we're going for 11 straight Bundesliga titles. We know that. They may think they have history on their side because only once, going back to 07-08, has the team in first place after match day 30, so that was a couple weeks ago, not won the title, but you talked about it. It's a very tenuous 1-point lead right now for Bayern and Dortmund. They're probably going to pick up points facing Augsburg on Sunday, so a lot of pressure on the table leaders. And if Bayern ends up not winning this league for the 11th straight year, I think this is why, guys. Going into last week, only Augsburg and Werder Bremen had dropped more points from winning positions than Bayern. I was pretty stunned to read that. So they have struggled to hold leads a little bit. And Leipzig, you talked about this, Carm. They've got a lot on the line as well. Top 4 battle. I think they're a better side than Union Berlin. I think they're a better side than Freiburg. But only 4 points separate those 3 sides. So in a match here that Both teams really want to win. Neither can afford to lose. I expect things to be a little tighter and maybe even, dare I say, a little lower scoring than expected. I was reading over on Opta. They had a great piece about this, just how much scoring we've seen in Germany this year. Last week was actually the highest scoring match week in the Bundesliga going back over 20 seasons. There were an average of 4.7 goals scored per match. So I think just naturally, we're going to see fewer goals scored this week. That's just the way I look at things. If you have a record like that, I think there's some regression. Now, Bayern certainly did a lot of the heavy lifting when you talk about goal scoring last week in Germany. They put 6 on the board against Schalke. They posted the highest XG, 5.3, in any match in Europe's Big Five all season. It's quite impressive. But Leipzig, I mean, they've got the second lowest XGA in the league behind only Bayern. So they're not going to run wild, Bayern, here in this match. I know that they've set a record already. They've scored 6 or more goals 5 different times this year. But you factor those out, and they've scored only 58 in the other 27 matches. So I don't think they're going to score more than 2. And let's also not forget, guys, Leipzig looked dead in the water against Werder Bremen last week. They were down 1-0, and they scored twice late to rescue the win. So I'm going under here. It's kind of a contrarian under. I just don't think we're getting 4 goals in such a high-stakes match between the top 2 sides in expected goals allowed in Germany.
All right, Bryan, I like that one. And Nick, he mentioned what we're looking at when you're looking at the standings, and you've got Leipzig on 60, you got Union Berlin holding on to the final Champions League spot in 4th at 59, and Freiburg, who have lost a couple of games, their last 2 games, of course, and to Union Berlin and Leipzig, and now they play Wolfsburg. So it's a tough schedule for them to close out. But on 56 points, if Leipzig misstep and they win this weekend, they are a point back heading into the final game of the season, where absolutely anything can happen. But a point from Leipzig here gives them an advantage, puts them on 61. Even with a Freiburg win that takes them to 59, it puts Leipzig in a position where they don't need to win their final game of the season. Even a draw because of goal differential will get them into the Champions League. That's a lot of talk, Nick. Does any of that factor in to what you're about to talk to us about?
Yeah, I mean, those kind of scenarios, I always kind of keep in my back pocket for the last 15 minutes of a game, right? So the first 3/4 of the game, let's say, it's not really a huge factor. I mean, the teams know what they need to do or want to do, but when it actually comes down to those last few minutes and you're in a position like that, maybe Leipzig is tied at that point, and now the worst thing they could do is lose the match. They kind of tighten up a little bit. So yeah, those things do matter near the end of matches. And listen, Bryan suggests taking an under in a Bayern game. That's a strong individual right there. I mean, maybe you'd say big cojones. And you know what? I think Bryan's right. I agree with him on the under in this game. There's a lot on the line. I almost would attribute this to a Champions League knockout type of a game. There's that much on the line in this match, right? So this is not a standard Bundesliga match where it's going to be free-flowing, goals are going to be coming, and who gives a crap really what the result is. This matters a lot, especially because Bayern have the chance to go trophyless this year. No Champions League, no German Cup, and possibly no Bundesliga, which that would be quite something for this team. Obviously, all they do is rake in hardware. So there's a lot here to be said. Bryan hit the nail on the head as far as XGA, expected goals allowed. These are the top 2 teams in Germany. So these are good defenses. I mean, Bayern really do it because they just possess the ball and don't give the other team a lot of opportunity. But Leipzig is a good defense. And it's worth noting when you look at their results this year, they do struggle on the road. They're not nearly as crisp as they are at home. They have just 6 wins on the season, and they really struggled against the better teams in the league. They've lost to Union Berlin, Frankfurt, Dortmund, and Leverkusen. It is worth noting, though, they don't really score all that much. So 12 of their 16 away matches have finished under this total. And again, we're at 3.5 goals, which is a big total compared to a 2.5 goal total. So Bayern obviously can score plenty. But at this high of a number, they tend to stay under the total more often than not. 11 of their last 17 Bundesliga matches have finished under 3.5 goals. Of course, you look at the last result, 6 goals against Schalke, but Schalke sucks. So it is what it is. I'll also add, I compared this match to kind of a Champions League match. So I'm going to look at some Champions League results. 8 games this season, Bayern played against quality opponents. So the only 2 games I'm throwing out the window are against Plzen from the group stage. But otherwise, Man City, PSG, Barcelona, and Inter. They played each of them twice. All 8 matches finished under 3.5 goals. And I think this is going to play out in a similar type of importance match. So I agree with Bryan. We're going to go under 3.5. Don't play it if you have a faint of heart, because it is hard to do that against Bayern. But I think it's going to be low scoring.
All right, there you have it. Low scoring. I got to give it to you guys. You guys are exhibiting some good or some solid. I don't even want to use the words. I will just say you guys are putting it out there. So I wish you the best of luck. Listen, I would like to see a different winner of the Bundesliga. No disrespect to all the Bayern Munich fans out there, but one team dominating each and every year just makes people talk about that phrase we see all the time on social media, farmers leagues, that it's always one team winning it. At least we've seen in the Premier League, different teams winning it over the last 5-6 years. And in Serie A, the same as well, too. Obviously, League One just seems to be PSG every year, with the exception of one. So it'd be good to see Dortmund back on the top in that one. All right, we're switching gears and heading back to Europe for a couple Sunday games. Heading back to England in the UK for a couple games. West Ham and Leeds. The odds on this one: West Ham plus 137 at home. The draws plus 256. Leeds plus 191 in this one. Kev, before I go to you, I'm just going to make a quick note on this game, and then I'm going to go to you. West Ham obviously plays today in a big Europa Conference League game to try and get into the finals, holding on to a 2-1 lead, aggregate lead thus far. Leeds needs a win. I don't think a draw is even going to help them at this point. It might pull them even for that 16th spot or 17th spot, but they need a win. They need to go to West Ham and try and come away with 3 points to save them from the relegation zone. I'm not looking at a side here. You look at Leeds, 11 straight games in which both teams have scored. They can score goals. They just can't keep them out of their own net. The BTTS on this one, both teams to score, is 163. I like the over instead. I think there's likely going to be a winner in this one. The over is 2.5 minus 130. You can take that one step further. If you don't want to lay that juice, you can take both teams to score and over 2.5 goals at plus 110 and get some plus money as opposed to the minus 130 on the juice on the over 2.5. We're going to see goals here, and I think we're going to see goals from both sides. So as far as the show lean is, it's over 2.5 minus 2.5, and keep an eye on that both teams to score and over 2.5 if you can get plus money on it. Kev, I'll go to you.
Definitely a little less enthusiastic about this game than I was in the last one, Carmine. I was on Leeds last week, in fairness, against Newcastle at home. That was a phenomenal game to watch, if you guys caught it. You know, there were red cards, there were penalties, there were missed penalties. Eddie Howe got a shove in the chest as well off a fan coming off the pitch. The game had everything. And Leeds looked good in that game as well, in fairness. They definitely deserved the result. Thankfully, cashed that play, had them plus 0.75 in that one. Newcastle really didn't do much outside of the 2 penalties they were given. But, you know, you mentioned it there. The one glaring aspect with this Leeds United team this season continues to be that defence. Also temperament as well. You know, giving up those soft fouls in and around the box. And look, while I backed them last week because they get an extra 10% when they're playing at Ellen Road. You know, the crowd really gets behind them there. But on the road, Leeds have been absolutely abysmal. They've allowed an average of 3 goals per game away from home since April 1st. That's the second worst defensive road record in the entire league across that time frame. So, you know, as you mentioned, West Ham are playing in midweek in the Europa Conference League. You know, that's obviously going to be a short week for them. This is absolute must-win territory for Leeds in this one as well, given where they are at in the table. But again, it's like that old adage. If they're in a must-win spot, they're frankly not, you know, they're frankly not a good team. If you're in a must-win spot, there's a reason for that. it's because you're not getting results before. And I just feel that with this being West Ham's final home game of the season, we know how passionate they are in East London. Like, the Hammers fans will be out for this one. Standalone spot in London. They'll want to give the team, a send-out for the year. And West Ham are, frankly, the much better team here in my eyes. So, while I don't love the play by any stretch, if I'm taking out my money and walking to the window in this one, I'm backing the Hammers on the strip pick'em line to get a result at home here.
All right, and Kev, you look at this, and you look at the standings, and West Ham are 6 points. They're on 37 points. They're 6 points up on Leeds for that final relegation spot. So a draw literally assures them safety, although you have to figure they're assured of safety right now based on even goal differential should Leeds get a victory here. Would you even look at a draw in this game? It kind of ruins unless it's a 2-2 game, my both teams to score and over 2.5. Thinking on a 2-1 final. Would you look at a draw in this game for Leeds? For West Ham?
I don't believe it's that likely, Carmine. You mentioned at the start, I believe there's going to be a winner in this game too, because Leeds are going to push the tempo. And as well, I just think that home support, last game of the season at home, I just think both teams are going to be well up for this one. So, I think there'll be a winner either way, because Leeds are, watching that Newcastle game, they're just so bad defensively that I wouldn't have any reliance on them to keep this one low.
Yeah, if you've been playing that both teams to score for them at least over the last 11 games, you've cashed the ticket each and every weekend. So kudos to anyone who's been following that one. Hopefully they'll do it again. You'd have to lay $1.63 on that unless you factor in the total as well too into that. All right, we're going to finish this off, and this is obviously the marquee game of the weekend. Kevin Dolan sent me a message and said, "Carm, listen, I'm coming to Vegas. I'm going to bring you some Middleton rare whiskey. Just keep me off the Chelsea game on Thursday's show and give it to Bryan instead." So that's what I've done. So it is Man City and Chelsea. Man City minus 374 at home. The draw plus 515. Chelsea plus 950. And we all know what's at stake here. I believe it's pretty simple. A City win, and that trophy is theirs. Bryan, I'm going to go to you. Do you have it? Do you have the cojones to take Chelsea in this one, or is it Man City?
Well, Carb, you admired the guts of Nick and I on that, taking an under on Bayern. Boy, do I got to play for you here. So on Tuesday's show, we've joked about it already several times. I might as well have been like Uma Thurman in Pulp Fiction, giving out Man City. Draw the little square on the screen there. I don't know if I did that, I think, but that's good enough. But it cashed, and I'm taking a hard right turn here, okay? Because after telling everyone to lay a price, admittedly that was a lot shorter on Tuesday, with City against what could conservatively be called a top 4 team in the world, I'm going to tell everyone to fade City here, facing Frank Lampard's Chelsea, who have just one win in their last 11 matches. Now, we're getting some help from the odds makers, of course, namely plus 1.5 at a decent price. I'll talk about that in a second. But look, I know you hit on it, Carm, that they can wrap the Premier League race up here, but it is the mother of all letdown spots after just such an incredible performance midweek, beating Real Madrid 4-0. And, they'll take a win any way they can get it. That wraps up the Premier League. But they already have the race sewn up. Let's be honest here. They've got the game in hand against Arsenal. Manchester City has won this league. I'm going to note it's not a client play here, at least yet. I just think it's a situation where the underdog can come in, play completely loose. Absolutely no one expects them to stay within a goal here, right? I would actually wait. We were talking about this before the show started. I would wait because there's already some plus 1 3/4 showing up. I think you're going to see more of those as we get closer to match time. I'll say this. We're probably going to know within the first 30 minutes if this breakdown is something we can all come back and laugh at, next week, because I think that we've got to avoid something. What was that match a few weeks ago? Like Newcastle and Spurs, right? When Spurs just got blitzed right off the rip. If Chelsea can just can stay even for the first 30 minutes, I am confident that they're going to cash here on the goal line, show some pride, show up and play. You got nothing on the line. I mean, you're an ultimate underdog. If you can't get up for this, what else can I say? Yes, it is ugly. Hold your nose. Watch it through your fingers. Maybe don't even watch it at all. Just check the score after it's over. But I am saying take Chelsea plus 1.5 here and probably wait because you're going to get plus 1.75 later in the week.
All right. And listen, Bryan, I don't blame you. It's like you saying, like, don't even watch it. It's kind of like what I do when I bet unders. I will literally check the score every 30 minutes. I'm like, okay, we're 30 minutes in. It's scoreless. We're good. I come back at halftime, check it again. All right, still scoreless. It's kind of what I did with at times with the AC Milan, Inter Milan game this past Tuesday. But you're right in the sense of talking about the line. The line is just going to continue to get worse on Man City if you're backing them. If you like Man City, bet it now. Don't wait till Sunday, because by the time the weekend comes, it'll be 1.75s and probably some -2s that you're going to have to lay. People tend to not want to bet these early, especially if you're dealing with like a limited bankroll. You want your money in play every single day. You don't want to hold it up for 3 or 4 days. And people wait, and then we'll play it on Saturday, play it on Sunday, and get the worst of the number. So if you like. And we're not saying Man City is not going to win this game. We believe they're going to win this game. But laying multiple goals with them in a position where they still have a big schedule left. They obviously, in looking at what they have left, obviously they have the Champions League final. They have the FA Cup final, which is the Manchester Derby against United. This is their final home game, as they'll head on the road for their final 2 at Brighton and Brentford. So we expect them to get the win here. But if you're now laying 2 goals because you bet this game too late, you need them to win by 3. And then there's not a guarantee, because we've seen Pep do this all season long, especially since the World Cup ended with Kevin De Bruyne. And he's been on the bench for quite a few games. And Erling Haaland isn't the same player when De Bruyne is on the bench. So laying multiple goals might not be the best thing, but with that said, it could turn into one of those ones where Newcastle blasts 4 or 5 and it's 5-0 at halftime. Nick, I'm going to give you the final word on this. What are your thoughts?
I just did want to say one more thing. Remember, It was 2 weeks ago, guys, that City was up 2-0 against Leeds, and Leeds put one in late. So, I mean, there's always that situation too. Obviously, no one likes, waiting 75 minutes to get a goal, but hey, who knows?
Yeah, and you look at Chelsea, and they have a lot of quality in that team. They just haven't been able to put it together. But no team other than a team that has won the Champions League, has won the Premier League, would love to be the fly in the ointment once again and throw the little curveball at a team just to make it exciting. And maybe helping out their fellow Londoners. Nick, what are your thoughts?
Hang on a second. I'm getting breaking news. There is a stoppage time panelist that has recommended betting Chelsea for the first time since 2022. Is that accurate? Yeah, I guess that's accurate. Bryan, good luck to you, my friend. But you know what? I don't necessarily disagree with you. I think I'm looking at it at a similar angle, but a different play, under. And, that always usually correlates with the underdog as well. So I don't hate your play at all, Bryan. I don't want to lay the goals with Man City. It is a spot that's going to be tough to emotionally come back from. I knew in 30 seconds I was on the dead wrong side on the route taking Real Madrid yesterday. And that game got out of hand quickly. But with the chance to put this to bed in this match, the Premier League, and give themselves basically 3 weeks I guess they have the FA Cup final too, to give themselves 3 weeks just to worry about 2 more matches, I think it's pretty important. And I think Pep's going to really kind of put that pressure on them to go ahead and do that. But that doesn't mean that I think they're going to come out here and win this game by a lot, because Chelsea, they don't want to be the team that gets the title lifted against, right? We saw this from Udinese putting up a tough game against Napoli just a couple of weeks ago. And I think this is kind of set up the same way. Chelsea, we know they've struggled to score, which feeds into my under. And although they have, for the first time since October, scored multiple goals in back-to-back Premier League games, so they do have that going for them. But I don't see a lot of action here. City allows 0.71 expected goals per 90 minutes at home in the Premier League, which is incredible. But they do often kind of tend to concede on that. You mentioned the Leeds late goal, which is very possible here because at some point you're up 2 goals and you're in the final few minutes, you're probably going to see this thing through. And if they kind of get a little lackadaisical, it does happen. So I'm hoping that doesn't hurt my under, but I don't think Chelsea's going to get a lot of action in this match. And, I'll just go on the history. I'll just end with the history of this series. These are pretty big rivals. They don't like each other. They're usually hard-fought games. We had the 4-0 FA Cup win by City back in January. That snapped a run of 7 straight meetings finishing under this total, which is 3.25 goals you can get right now. And only 3 of the last 18 head-to-head meetings have finished with 4 goals or more. So I don't see a lot of action just based on the history. I don't see a lot of action based on the situation. So I'm going to go with the under 3.25. You got to pay about -130 to get that quarter goal, but I think it's important. It'll give you a half win if it finishes 3-0, 2-1, whatever. But I don't see a ton here. So I kind of agree with you, Brian, but I'm going to go a different way. Take the under.
All right. You guys can both get there. One way or another, you guys can both get there and cash on that. So there it is, guys. 4 games. Bournemouth, Man United, Bayern, Munich, and RB Leipzig. The big game in Germany this weekend. West Ham, Leeds, and, of course, Man City and Chelsea as City look to hoist that trophy. Final home game of the season as well, too. Let's go recap and see what everyone had on today's 4 games that I just mentioned. And we'll go to Kev first. Let us know what you have up at WagerTalk on 50% off Thursdays, Throwback Thursdays. So you can get 50% off of any package on the site. Let us know what you have up and we'll have a look at your leans.
Yeah, like I said at the start, Carmine, big 4% play up for tonight's Europa Conference League action. It is actually my highest rated play of the entire European card this week, so really looking forward to that one. On top of that, we got a 5% NBA juggernaut play posted up for tomorrow's card. NBA continues to roll 9-0 run there across all 5% playoff top plays over the last 2 seasons. Still number 1. I don't know how, because profits on a ridiculous run. But since the start of the 2018 season, plus 5% soccer best bet up in Brazil for Sunday as well. So, as you said, you can get everything for only half price today as part of WagerTalk's Throwback Thursday, or pick up a 3-day pass, run all the plays through Friday through Sunday. So, expecting a big weekend ahead.
All right. Good luck to you. Hopefully you have a monster weekend. Bryan, we'll go to you next. Let us know what you have up on the site at WagerTalk, and we'll have a look at your leans.
Yep. 5% NBA play going tonight. Once again, we have released only 4 5% NBA plays all season long. All 4 plays have won. They have beaten the odds makers number by more than 50 points. So we're really excited about tonight's 5% play. And again, if you want, you can get all 3 soccer plays plus that 5% NBA play, just $19.50 right now. Those 3 soccer plays got you covered in the EPL, Europa League, and Europa Conference League. Yeah, looking for a big Thursday. MLB has been great as well over the last 2 days. Cashed 3 or 4 bets. All 3 wins were underdogs plus 140 or higher. MLB's up like 45 units now since last October. So feeling good across all sports, hoping for a big weekend. And yeah, head on over to my page right now. Get that 5% play plus the 3 soccer winners.
All right, and best of luck on that play. Nick, PGA Championship, a huge, I know you got a ton of plays likely up, a big winner last week for you. Let us know what you have up at WagerTalk as well.
Yeah, the PGA Championship has gotten underway officially, but my pack is generally a lot of outrights and leaderboards, which are live all throughout the entire tournament, so you never are too late to grab that. And then soccer, I have 1 best bet going today in the Europa League, 1 best bet going tomorrow in Serie A, which has been hot. The entire month of May has been hot. Going back over 30 days has been hot. So soccer's been running real well. Hopefully we'll continue that. And then looking forward to more MLS this weekend. Another winning night. Last night, 2-1, up 40 units on the season. So hopefully we continue to chug along for our 5th straight winning MLS season.
Keep it going, Nick. Keep on winning, and I'll be talking to you later about some of those golf plays so I can jump on board a few of those. Myself, right now, 4 plays across the Europa League and Europa Conference League for today. All those games go at 3 p.m. You get them for 50% off over at WagerTalk. And of course, NHL, top of the hour. It'll be myself and Bryan Leonard discussing the game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals. And I'll have a play and some props up, also 50% off. Guys, we're going to be back on Tuesday of next week. Only one show next week. That is on Tuesday. We'll be looking at games like Brighton and Man City, the Chelsea and Man United game that we mentioned earlier, and then the Coppa Italia final between Inter and Fiorentina at the Stadio Olimpico in Roma. So some pretty good games across the board next week in midweek action, and we'll cover those on Tuesday along with some best bets for the weekend. So you get a few extra games to bet on as well too. For myself, Kevin Dolan, Nick Borman, and Brian Power, this is Stoppage Time. Thanks for tuning in, guys, and best of luck with your wagers.
If you love $9 Monday and $2 Tuesday, you're really going to appreciate our new Throwback Thursday when all daily packages are slashed in half. Yes, you heard right. At both WagerTalk.com and SportsMemo.com, all Thursday daily packages are now 50% off. This means that a 4% package will be only $12.50. A 5% top-rated play, normally priced at $35, will be only $17.50. And the hottest sales item of the day, get a full day of access from the handicappers of your choice. That's one day of every applicable play they release, including any 5% best bets, normally priced at $39, for only $19.50. The best part is you can come back every Thursday to take advantage of this limited time 50% off spring offer.